Emily's fingers slip from the handle of her suitcase as the announcement cracks through the crowded terminal, and for a second she thinks the ground moved. Attention passengers. All remaining flights are now canceled. The airport is closing until further notice. The words hang over the chaos like a hammer. A baby starts wailing somewhere near the check-in counters. Someone curses. A rolling suitcase tips over and crashes into a metal pole. Emily's breath comes short and sharp as she stares at the departure board turning into a wall of red. Cancelled, cancelled, cancelled. She lunges toward the nearest counter anyway, heart pounding, shoes sliding on melted snow. Please, there has to be something, she says, voice rasping from hours of waiting. Stand by, a bus, anything. The agent doesn't even look up right away. When she finally does, her eyes are tired, the kind that have delivered the same bad news all night. Ma'am, everything's shut down. Roads are iced over. Hotels are already full. That's when the panic really hits. She fumbles for her phone, fingers numb, screen lighting up with the same text from her mom she has already read 10 times. How's the flight? Lily keeps asking when you'll be here. Emily swallows hard. The signal bars flicker. No ride, no hotel, no backup plan. Just a storm pounding against the glass and hundreds of strangers clawing for answers that don't exist. Hey, a man's voice says behind her, firm but low, like he's used to cutting through noise without raising the volume. You look like you're about to pass out. She spins around and sees the dark coat first, then the strong jaw, then the eyes that seem too calm for this mess. Snowflakes melt in his hair, sharp against the black wool. In his hand, a steaming cup held out toward her. Hot chocolate. Take it before you drop, he says. For a heartbeat, she just stares, mind blank. Then recognition punches through. Adrian Blake. She has seen that face on business magazines lining grocery store racks, in headlines about record-breaking mergers and ruthless takeovers. Here, though, he stands in scuffed boots, not polished dress shoes, his coat open over a gray sweater, a travel bag at his feet like any other stranded traveler. There is no security detail hovering around him, no assistant holding his phone, just the quiet focus of a man who is used to being listened to. She reaches out, her hand shaking more from everything crashing down on her than from the cold. The warmth of the cup stings her fingers in the best way. Thank you, she murmurs, not trusting her voice with anything more. He studies her face for a moment, gaze moving from the loose strands of hair stuck to her damp cheeks to the small, frayed handbag hanging off her shoulder. Before we start, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Rough night? He asks. She lets out a broken laugh that sounds nothing like what she had hoped this day would feel like. You could say that, she answers. I kind of needed this flight to actually exist. Around them, people shove past, arguing, bargaining, some already filming with their phones. But there is a strange pocket of space around Adrian, like the crowd has decided without thinking to give him room. His gaze flicks up to the board, then back to her. Where were you headed? He asks. She hesitates, chewing on the inside of her cheek. Home, she says finally. I promised my little girl I'd be there before she went to sleep. The words scrape on the way out. He doesn't say the usual thing, doesn't tell her kids are resilient, or there's always tomorrow. Instead, his jaw tightens, just a fraction, as if something in that answer hits closer than it should. Do you have somewhere to stay? He asks. The question is simple, but it feels like someone pulled a rug out from under her. She glances toward the sliding doors, where the black night presses in against the glass and white snow spins under the harsh parking lot lights. I'll figure it out, she lies. Her phone buzzes again. Battery's low, money lower. The thought of curling up on one of those plastic chairs until morning makes her throat close. Adrian steps in a little closer, and suddenly the smell of his cologne cuts through the mix of coffee, wet coats, and fried food. Clean, steady, expensive. I have a place not far from here, he says. A lodge. Heat, food, actual beds. You shouldn't be out there tonight. She almost laughs in his face then, because this sounds like every warning story her aunt ever forwarded to the family group chat. A stranger's offer. A man with serious money and serious headlines attached to his name. You don't even know me, she says, voice low. You don't know what kind of trouble I could be. His mouth curves, not quite a smile. more like someone who just heard a challenge they didn't mind taking. I know what it looks like when someone is out of options, he says. He jerks his chin toward the window. That storm's just getting started. You stay here. You're on a bench or the floor. You come with me. You're warm and safe. That's all I'm offering. She looks past him, to the lines at the counters, to the families huddled together, to the exhausted staff pulling down metal gates in front of shops. The airport is slowly turning into a closed box with no way out. Her pulse hammers in her ears. This is crazy. This is reckless. This is also the first solid chance she has been handed all night. And if I say yes? She asks. His eyes lock with hers, steady, unreadable. Then you grab your bag, he says, and you walk out of here with me before they lock those doors. Her fingers tighten around the cardboard cup until the lid squeaks. Somewhere over her head, the speakers crackle again. Another announcement begins, but her brain only tracks one thing now: the distance between her and the doors, and the stranger who might not be a stranger for long. Emily takes a breath that feels like stepping off a ledge. Okay, she whispers. Let's go. He reaches for her suitcase handle without asking, like it's the most natural thing in the world, then nods toward the exit. Snow hammers the glass harder, like it's racing them. As they move toward the doors, a security guard steps into their path, hand raised. Ma'am, sir, hold up. No one's supposed to head back out alone right now. Adrian doesn't slow. He just looks at the guard, something sharp sliding into his gaze, and opens his mouth to say something that makes the man's face change completely. The guard lowers his hand. Yes, sir. You two go ahead. Emily's steps falter because she hasn't heard what Adrian said yet, but whatever it was, it just bent a closed door wide open. Have you ever trusted someone you barely knew, just because the alternative felt worse? Would you have walked out into that storm with him too? The wind slams into them the moment the glass doors hiss open, throwing needles of ice against Emily's cheeks and stealing the air from her lungs. Adrian shifts his grip on her suitcase and angles his body, so his coat takes most of the hit, guiding her down the slick sidewalk like he has done this 1,000 times before. Careful, he says, arm firm at the small of her back as her boot skids on a patch of black ice. The parking lot is a blur of half-buried cars, spinning snow, and taillights trying to punch through white. It feels like the whole world shrank to the space between her, him, and the dark shape of a black SUV idling near the curb. The engine hums low, exhaust turning into thick clouds that vanish into the storm. The rear door swings open from the inside before they reach it. A man in a dark jacket and knit hat leans out, eyes sharp despite the late hour. You cut it close, boss, he says, scanning Emily in one quick pass that misses nothing. They're talking about shutting the highway. Emily's chest tightens around that word boss. So that's what this is. Not an ordinary guy, not a fellow stranded passenger. Adrian jerks his head toward the driver's seat. We're leaving now. Owen, back roads if you have to. He helps Emily into the back, the leather cold at first, then warming under her legs. The door thunks shut, muting the storm to a dull roar. Her fingers dig into the seat as the SUV pulls away from the curb. Wipers fighting to keep up with the snow, plastering the windshield. Owen glances at her in the rearview mirror. She know who you are? He asks. Emily answers before Adrian can. I'm not blind, she says softly. But I don't know why someone like you is driving through a blizzard instead of being on a private jet. The question slips out before she can stop it. Adrian leans back, the overhead light catching the faint lines at the corners of his eyes. The jet's grounded like everything else, he says. Besides, I wanted to be here. The way he says it makes Owen's hands tighten briefly on the wheel. Emily notices. The air inside the SUV is warm, but there's a tension, a shared glance between the two men, like a subject just got nudged that they usually avoid. She stares out the window. The airport lights fade behind them, swallowed by white. Trees appear and disappear along the road, Christmas decorations on the occasional house blinking weakly through the storm. Her phone buzzes again. 1% battery. She swallows. I need to text my mom before this dies, she says. Let her know I'm not stuck on the floor of gate 12. Use this, Adrian says, pulling out his own phone and handing it over without hesitation. Hotspot's on. Take what you need. She blinks at the expensive device sitting in her palm like it's made of glass. Why are you doing this? She asks. You could have just walked past me like everyone else. He looks at her for a long moment, the car rocking slightly as Owen eases them around a snowbank. Because once, someone didn't walk past me, Adrian says. And it changed everything. He doesn't explain. He doesn't have to. The way his gaze slides away to the dark window tells her there is a story there with edges sharp enough to cut. She types fast, thumbs shaking. Flight canceled. I'm safe. Staying near the airport tonight. We'll call in the morning. Kiss Lily for me. Her mom's reply pops up almost instantly. A string of worried messages and a photo of a little girl in Christmas pajamas, clutching a stuffed reindeer and pointing at the tree. Emily presses her lips together. She doesn't let herself cry. Not now. The SUV slows as they turn off the main road onto a narrower lane lined with tall pines heavy with snow. The world gets darker, quieter, more wrapped in white and shadow. A wooden sign flashes by on the right, too fast for her to read the words, but the shape sticks. A small carved cabin under a crescent moon. They round one last bend, and then the lodge appears. It rises out of the trees like something from a Christmas movie. Wide wraparound porch, big picture windows glowing with warm golden light. Smoke curling from a stone chimney into the night. Strings of soft white lights hang along the roofline, reflecting off snow-covered railings. For a second, the storm feels less like a threat and more like a curtain hiding this place from the rest of the world. Her throat tightens. You weren't kidding, she whispers. She can't even finish the sentence. Adrian almost smiles. My grandfather built the first version of it, he says. I've added a few things over the years. The SUV crunches to a stop in front of the steps. Owen kills the engine and twists in his seat. Power's holding, he says. But the grid's shaky. We've got the generators if it cuts. Generators. Plural. Money, she thinks, has its own way of preparing for storms. Adrian opens her door, cold air spilling in again. Come on, he says. Let's get you inside before you freeze. As she steps out, the snow is deeper than it looked, swallowing her boots up to the ankle. He steadies her with one hand, the heat of his fingers burning through her coat. Sparks race up her arm, unexpected, unwelcome, but real. They climb the steps. The front door swings inward before they reach it. A woman in her 50s stands there, apron dusted with flour, gray-streaked hair pulled into a low bun. Finally, she says, hands on her hips. You were supposed to be here 2 hours ago. Roads are a mess. And who is this? Her eyes snap to Emily, sharp but not unkind. This is Emily, Adrian says. She's staying here tonight. The woman's gaze flicks over Emily's thin jacket, her worn shoes, her tired eyes. Something softens around her mouth. Well, come on then, she says. No use letting all the heat out. I'm Maria. You'll want to warm up by the fire before anything else. Emily steps into a wave of warmth, the smell of wood smoke, baking bread, and cinnamon washing over her. The entryway opens into a wide living space with vaulted ceilings, exposed beams, and a massive stone fireplace roaring at the far wall. Cozy armchairs cluster around it, a thick rug spread over polished wood floors. A Christmas tree stands near the window, tall and full, covered in white lights and simple ornaments that look handmade. It's gorgeous. It's safe. It's everything she didn't expect to find when the departure board went red. But as Maria moves off toward the kitchen and Adrian closes the door behind them, sliding the deadbolt with a quiet click, Emily feels a thin thread of unease run down her spine. She is alone in a strange house, in the middle of a blizzard, with a man the world calls ruthless, and she has no idea yet what this night will really cost. If you were standing in that entryway, torn between gratitude and doubt, would you relax by the fire or keep your shoes on, just in case you need to run? The first crack of thunder startles her awake. For a moment, Emily doesn't remember where she is. The room is dark, except for a slice of light under the door and the faint glow of snow reflecting off the window pane. Her heart races, sheets twisted around her legs, the echo of the storm groaning against the walls like something heavy pressing from the outside. She swings her feet to the floor, the wood cool under her toes. Maria's voice drifts faintly from somewhere down the hall, followed by Adrian's lower rumble. The old clock in the hallway ticks steady, grounding. Emily moves to the window and pulls back the curtain. The world outside is a wall of white, wind driving snow sideways so hard she can barely see the outline of the trees. The porch lights sway slightly, haloed in swirling flakes. She checks her phone on the nightstand. Dead. No charging cable in her bag. The alarm on the dresser reads 2:17 a.m. Too early to be up, too late to call it night. Her mind flashes to Lily, probably rolled up in her blanket, thumb in her mouth, small chest rising and falling to the glow of Christmas lights. The ache in Emily's chest feels like pressure on a bruise. The hallway outside her room is dim and quiet when she cracks the door open. Voices float from downstairs now, clearer. She hesitates for a moment, then follows them, fingers trailing along the smooth railing as she descends. The smell of coffee hits her first, then the low murmur of the television from the far side of the living room. The fire has burned down to embers, but the room still holds the day's warmth. Adrian sits on the couch, sleeves pushed up, tie gone, an open laptop on the coffee table. Owen is gone. Maria too. The TV is on a news channel with the sound low. Red ticker at the bottom flashing updates about the storm. Road closures, power outages, estimates that it could last through Christmas morning. On the screen, a map shows their state, swallowed by blue and white bands. Emily steps off the last stair, and Adrian looks up immediately, like his senses are tuned to every shift in the room. Couldn't sleep? He asks. His voice is softer at this hour, less CEO, more man in a quiet house. Storm's loud, she says, wrapping her arms around herself. He nods toward the armchair across from him. Sit. Maria made a fresh pot before she went to bed. A mug waits on the end table, steam curling lazily into the air. She lowers herself into the chair, sinking into the cushion, and wraps her hands around the ceramic. The heat seeps into her skin, working its way up her arms. On the TV, the anchor points to the clock graphic in the corner. 30 hours until the worst of the storm is expected to pass. 30 hours. Emily swallows. 30 hours until flights might resume. 30 hours until she can even try to get to her daughter. The numbers feel like a countdown she didn't agree to. You planning to stare that clock down all night? Adrian asks quietly. She glances up, realizing he's watching her. Not the television. Feels like everything in my life is on pause until that timer hits 0, she says. Job, rent, my mom, my little girl, all waiting on a weather report. He leans back, eyes reflecting the orange glow of the embers. You're a single mom? He asks. Not like it's gossip, but like he's adding a piece to a puzzle he's already half built in his head. Yes, she answers. Lily's 5. She thinks Christmas magic can fix anything. A small smile tugs at her lips, then fades. I didn't tell her about the storm. I just told her I'd be there. Silence settles for a few seconds. Heavy, but not empty. Not everything needs words. The storm howls against the windows, and the old beams in the ceiling creak. He breaks eye contact first, looking toward the tree. Kids are better at waiting than adults, he says. They believe the good thing will still show up, even when it's late. There's something in his tone that makes her study him more closely. The strong features that seemed so polished at the airport look rougher here in the half-light. Like the lines carved by stress and lack of sleep have nothing to do with stock prices and everything to do with something he won't name. Do you have kids? She asks. His jaw works once, like he has to choose his next words very carefully. No, he says finally. I have a nephew. The way he says it lands heavy. His name is Caleb. She waits, sensing more, but he doesn't offer it right away. Instead, he reaches over and turns up the volume on the news just a notch. The anchor switches to a different graphic, an overlay of storm coverage with a smaller box in the corner, showing footage of a hospital parking lot, ambulances stuck in snow, staff slogging through drifts to get patients inside. Looks bad, Emily says quietly. It is, Adrian replies. Hospitals run on schedules and systems. Storms don't care about either. He rubs a hand over his face, and for a second, a flicker of raw worry breaks through his composed expression. Then it's gone. Is that why you wanted to be here? She asks. Instead of on that jet? She keeps her voice gentle, not accusing, just trying to connect the pieces. His eyes meet hers again, darker now. Caleb's there, he says, nodding toward the hospital footage. He has a heart condition. They moved his surgery up to first thing in the morning in case the storm knocked out power to the smaller clinics. He gestures toward the corner clock on the screen. 8 hours from now. The room seems to narrow around that number. 8 hours. 30 hours. 2 clocks ticking in different corners of the same night. You didn't mention that before, she says. You didn't ask, he answers. But there's no bite in it, just a tired truth. I was supposed to be at the hospital tonight. Sit with my sister, pretend everything is fine. The roads close sooner than we thought. His hand curls around his mug so tightly his knuckles whiten. So now I'm here, watching the storm tear up the route between this house and the one place I can't afford to be late. For the first time, she sees the weight under all his calm. Not just a man helping out a stranger, but someone who is just as trapped as she is, just in a more expensive cage. Is there any other way to get there? Emily asks. Helicopter, snowplow, I don't know, dog sled? She tries to lighten it, but the question is real. He gives a short, humorless breath. The chopper's grounded, he says. Visibility's shot. We have one window, after sunrise, before the worst of it shifts. If the roads aren't cleared enough by then, I miss the surgery. And my sister doesn't forgive that. Now she understands why Owen's hands tightened on the wheel. Why the guard at the airport tilted aside when Adrian spoke. This isn't just money. It's influence, pressure, and even that might not beat a storm. Another gust rattles the windows. Emily leans forward, elbows on her knees, coffee forgotten. So we're both racing the same storm, just for different reasons, she says softly. Looks that way, he replies. His gaze lingers on her face a heartbeat longer than before, like he is about to say something else. Then the screen on his laptop flashes, an email notification popping up with a subject line in bold red. His expression shifts, hardening. He glances at the timestamp, then at the clock on the TV, then back to her. There's something I need to show you, he says slowly. And once you see it, you might wish you'd stayed at that airport. If you were Emily, would you want to know the truth right now? Or cling to the comfort of not asking any more questions? Adrian turns the laptop toward her, fingers hovering over the trackpad like he's offering her a choice. Emily wipes her palms on her sweatpants, the fabric soft from too many washes, and leans in. The screen shows an email from an address she doesn't recognize, but the subject line sends a chill through her chest. Emergency security notice. Blake family. He opens it with a click. Lines of text spill down the screen, time-stamped less than 10 minutes ago. At the top, a logo from a private security firm she has only ever heard about in news stories that never reach people like her. It's a storm, Emily says quietly. Why would your security team be sending warnings? Because storms make good cover, Adrian replies. People pay less attention when they're busy saving themselves. His eyes skim the email fast, absorbing, assessing. A muscle jumps in his cheek. There was an incident at the hospital entrance, he says. Someone tried to get into the wing where my sister and Caleb are staying. Used the storm as distraction. Her heart lurches. Did they get in? He shakes his head once. No. Security stopped them. But the team thinks it wasn't random. They're recommending all immediate families stay in secure locations until after Caleb's surgery. He closes the laptop halfway, resting his forearms on it, and looks at her. That includes this house. The warmth from the fire feels thinner now. Emily straightens in her chair. You're saying someone is coming here? I'm saying someone might try, he answers. If they connect the dots, if they know we use this place as a fallback when things go off the rails. His gaze flicks to the windows, to the shadows pressed up against the glass. Storm or not, this lodge is on a list. And you brought me here, she says, the words slipping out before she can soften them. He doesn't flinch. Yes, I did, he says. Because the airport was not safer than this. Because I expected the security team to lock things down before we arrived. It's the first hint of self-reproach she's heard from him. Maria knows? Emily asks. Maria knows enough, he answers. She's been with my family longer than I've been alive. As if on cue, footsteps tap from the hallway. Maria appears in the archway, robe tied over her nightgown, hair now loose around her shoulders. I heard voices, she says. And the TV. You both need to be sleeping, not staring at bad news. Her eyes slide to the laptop. They send the alert? Adrian nods. They confirmed the attempt. Hospital wings locked down. They want everyone off the radar until it's over. Maria sighs, crossing her arms. Of course they do, she mutters. Always after the fire starts. She glances at Emily, measuring. You scare easy? She asks. Emily shakes her head immediately, then catches herself. I scare. she says honestly. I just keep moving anyway. A small smile tugs at Maria's mouth. Good answer, she says. She points at Adrian. You, upstairs in 10. You need at least 3 hours or you'll be useless when you get that call from your sister. Then to Emily. Come with me. There's something you should see before the sun comes up. Emily hesitates, looking between them. Adrian's expression softens, just a little. Maria's the only person in this house who tells me what to do, he says. If she wants to show you something, go. Maria turns without waiting for agreement, moving toward a hallway off the kitchen. Emily follows. The house quieter here, the sound of the storm more distant. They pass framed photos lining the wall, black and white portraits of serious men in suits, candid shots of children running through summer grass. A younger Adrian caught mid-laugh at a table crowded with people. Maria stops at a door near the end of the hall and slides a key from her pocket. Your mom know where you are? She asks as she unlocks it. She knows I'm safe near the airport, Emily says. Not here. That'll do for now, Maria replies. She pushes the door open and flips on the light. The room beyond is smaller, its windows shuttered. A heavy safe built into the far wall. The air smells faintly of paper and cedar. Filing cabinets line one side, shelves the other. What is this? Emily asks. Call it the truth room, Maria says. Adrian ever tell you what his father did before him? Emily frowns. He runs a company, big one, tech, finance, I don't know, something with numbers too big to imagine. Maria snorts softly. That's what they print in those glossy magazines, she says. She crosses to the safe, enters a code with practiced fingers, and swings it open. Inside, stacks of folders sit next to a small metal box. Maria pulls out one folder and hands it to Emily. Open it. The paper feels heavier than normal between Emily's fingers. She flips it open. The first page is a photograph. A hospital parking lot, similar to the one on the news, but the date in the corner is from years ago. The next page, a report, then another photo, broken glass, a shattered entryway, a blood trail half erased by snow. Her stomach flips. What is this? Last time someone used a storm to cover their tracks, Maria says quietly. Adrian was still in college. His father thought he could juggle everything: family, business, old arrangements made by older men. One winter night, those arrangements came back to collect. Emily turns another page. A name jumps out. Blake. Another. A child's name, circled in red ink in the margin. She realizes her grip has tightened so much the edges of the paper are starting to bend. Someone got hurt, she says, voice thin. Someone died, Maria corrects. No drama, just the plain shape of it. And Adrian watched his family bleed, while the men who caused it hid behind lawyers and empty condolences. She closes the folder gently and takes it back. Since then, he keeps two promises: protect the people who can't protect themselves, and never let a storm catch him sleeping again. Emily leans back against the wall, the weight of that history pressing on her chest. So that's why he pulled me out of the airport, she says slowly. And why he's pacing about the hospital. Maria nods. He saw you panicking under those fluorescent lights and remembered what it feels like when the world tilts and no one reaches out a hand. She locks the folder away again, spins the safe handle. Make no mistake, he's still a businessman, still makes deals that keep me up some nights. But he doesn't ignore people drowning right in front of him. The room feels smaller suddenly, the storm farther away and closer at the same time. Why are you showing me this? Emily asks. Because if that security notice is right, this house might be more than a warm bed and hot cocoa over the next 24 hours, Maria says. If trouble finds us up here, I need you to understand that Adrian's choices now are chained to things that happened long before you walked into that terminal. Emily pictures Lily's face again, then Caleb's unknown face somewhere in that hospital. Two kids who never chose any of this. Two adults trying to outrun different parts of the same storm. What do you need me to do? She asks. Maria studies her for a long second, then smiles, small and approving. Stay awake, she says. Pay attention. And when the moment comes, don't freeze. She reaches for the light switch. Now get some rest if you can. Dawn's gonna come faster than you think. As Emily steps back into the hallway, the house feels different. Not just a shelter from bad weather, but a stage where something bigger is getting ready to play out. The storm outside roars against the walls, but for the first time, she wonders if it's what waits inside these walls that should really keep her alert. If you had just learned that your host's past is tied to blood on snow, would you try to leave? Or stay? And see what that next knock on the door brings? The knock comes at 7:03 a.m. It punches through the quiet house like a dropped plate, sharp and sudden. Emily jerks upright in bed, heart slamming, disoriented by the gray light seeping around the curtains. For a moment she thinks she dreamed it, then it sounds again. 3 firm raps that vibrate faintly through the floorboards. She jumps up, shoves her feet into her boots without lacing them, and yanks open her door. The hallway is already alive. Maria hurries past, robe flaring, her face set in tight lines. Owen barrels up the back stairs, phone clamped to his ear. "Yeah, I heard it," he says. "Front door. Cameras are half snowblind, but I've got a visual on one vehicle. No plates visible." Emily follows the current, pulse racing. At the top of the main staircase, she spots Adrian at the bottom, one hand on the banister, the other holding his phone out in front of him on speaker. His shirt is half-buttoned, hair damp like he splashed water on his face a minute ago. "Say that again." He orders the person on the line. A man's voice crackles through the speaker. "We lost the tail for 5 minutes in whiteout conditions," the caller says. "When we picked it up again, they'd split. One car kept heading toward the hospital. The other headed toward your sector. We pinged your lodge cameras once, then the feed cut. Storm interference." The knock sounds again. Slower this time. Heavy. Like whoever is on the other side has all the patience in the world. "Who is that?" Emily whispers, more to herself than anyone. Adrian ends the call, slips the phone into his pocket, and looks up at her. For a second, all the polish and magazine cover charm are gone. What's left is sharp focus and a kind of quiet anger. "Stay back," he says. She grips the railing until her knuckles ache. "If it's your security, let them in," she says. "If it's not, that's what we're about to find out," he cuts in. He nods at Owen. "Side window feed?" Owen thumbs his screen. "Static on the porch cam," he says. "But I've got enough from the side." He squints at the device, then freezes. It's one person. No visible weapon. No uniform either. Maria moves to stand just behind Adrian's shoulder, a dish towel clenched in her fist like a nervous habit. "Could be a neighbor," she says. "Tree down, car stuck." "Could be," Adrian says. He doesn't sound convinced. The knock comes again, now followed by a man's voice, muffled by the heavy door. "Mr. Blake, it's urgent. Please." The sound of his name from a stranger's mouth in this storm-wrapped place sends a shiver down Emily's back. Adrian's eyes narrow. "Open audio," he tells Owen. Owen taps the screen, and the voice clears slightly through the phone speaker. "Mr. Blake, my name is Dr. Harris," the man says. "I'm from Street Vincent's. I need to speak with you. It's about your nephew." Emily's breath catches. Maria's hand flies to her chest. Adrian's fingers flex once on the banister. Every instinct in Emily screams that this is wrong. Emergencies come by phone call, not by a man knocking on a mountain lodge door in the middle of a blizzard. "How did you get here?" Adrian calls out, not moving closer yet. His voice carries through the thick wood, hard and controlled. There's a pause, then the answer. "We tried your phone, doctor," Harris says. "Lines are spotty. Security at the hospital flagged your last known location. The roads got worse, so they put me in the last vehicle heading near your sector. Please, we don't have much time." Caleb's condition changed. The words land like ice water. Emily's throat goes dry. She looks at Adrian, expecting him to rush the door, to tear it open. Instead, he goes very still. Last night flashes in her mind. Maria's truth room, the folder with snow and blood, the warning that storms are covers for the wrong kind of men. The security email stamped with emergency, the mention of 2 cars splitting. "Ask him something only the real doctor would know," Emily blurts. Adrian glances up at her, then nods once, as if he'd already planned to. "If you're Caleb's cardiologist," he calls, "tell me the nickname he gave the machine in exam room 3. There is a long pause, longer than it should take. The storm howls around the silence like it wants to fill the gap. Finally, the voice comes again. "Sir, I don't have time for games," the man says, a hint of impatience creeping in. "The storm's getting worse. Are you going to let me in or not?" Maria's eyes meet Emily's across the space, wide and knowing. Owen's jaw tightens. Adrian's decision hangs in the air, suspended on that unanswered question and the clock ticking down on his nephew's life somewhere miles away. If you were the one standing closest to that door, with a child's fate and your own safety both on the line, would you risk opening it or trust your gut and turn the stranger back into the storm? Adrian's hand comes down on the lock before anyone else can move. The bolt slides home with a sharp metal click that echoes through the hall like a gunshot. Emily's pulse hammers in her throat, the silence behind that locked door thicker than the storm outside. "Step back," Adrian says, voice low and flat. Owen already has his phone out, fingers flying across the screen. Maria crosses herself once, lips moving in a prayer too quiet to hear. Outside, the stranger's boots scrape against the porch, snow crunching as he shifts his weight. "Mr. Blake," the voice calls again, a sharper edge creeping in now. "I'm not sure what you think this proves. A child is in danger, and you're playing security theater. Give me the name," Adrian says through the door, louder now. "The nickname. If you work with Caleb, you know it." Another pause. Longer this time. Emily counts her own heartbeat, watching Owen's face go tight as he stares at his screen. "Boss," Owen mutters. Hospital security confirms no Dr. Harris on Caleb's team. They're running the name now, but a sudden crash from the side of the house cuts him off. Glass shattering. A window. Emily spins toward the sound, adrenaline punching through her chest. Adrian moves instantly, grabbing her arm and pulling her behind him. "Maria, upstairs, now," he snaps. "Take Emily with you." "Like hell," Emily breathes, but Maria's already got her wrist, yanking her toward the staircase with surprising strength for a woman her age. "This is not the time to be brave, girl," Maria hisses. "Move." The front door rattles violently, someone throwing their weight against it. Wood groans but holds. Owen draws something from his jacket, small and black and unmistakable. Emily's stomach drops. A gun. She has never been this close to one outside a movie screen. She stumbles up the stairs, Maria pushing her from behind, legs shaking so hard she nearly trips on the top step. Behind them, Adrian's voice cuts through the chaos, cold and commanding. "Owen, side entrance. I've got the front." They reach the hallway, and Maria shoves Emily into the same room she showed her hours ago. The truth room. The safe. Maria slams the door and locks it, then moves to the window, yanking the shutters closed with sharp, metallic clangs. "What's happening?" Emily gasps. "Who are those people?" "People who think a storm gives them permission," Maria answers. She crosses to the safe, spins the dial with practiced hands. It swings open. Inside, Emily sees folders, the metal box from before, and something else. Another gun. Smaller. Silver. Maria lifts it out, checks something on the side, then looks at Emily. "You ever hold one of these?" Emily shakes her head, mouth dry. "No, never." "Good," Maria says. "Don't start now." She tucks it into the waistband of her robe, then pulls out her phone and dials. "Adrian," she says when he picks up. "We're locked in. Emily's with me. What do you need?" Emily can't hear his answer, only the low rumble of his voice through the speaker. Maria nods once. "Understood. Be smart." She ends the call and turns to Emily. "Sit down before you fall down." Emily sinks onto the chair by the desk, hands clenched so tight her nails dig into her palms. Downstairs, something heavy slams against the door again. Then silence. Long, thick silence that feels worse than noise. "Are they trying to get to Caleb?" Emily whispers. "Caleb's fine," Maria says. "Hospital's locked down tighter than a bank vault. This isn't about him. This is about Adrian. About making him leave this house and come to them." "Then why?" Emily starts, but Maria cuts her off with a raised hand. Footsteps. Slow and deliberate, moving across the main floor below. Not Adrian's, not Owen's. Someone else. Maria's hand moves to the gun at her waist, eyes fixed on the door. Emily holds her breath, every nerve screaming. The footsteps stop directly below them. A creak, then another. Someone testing the stairs. Emily's phone, dead and useless in her pocket, suddenly feels like the heaviest thing she's ever carried. No way to call for help. No way to reach Lily. No way to tell her mom she's sorry for every reckless decision that led her to this moment. The footsteps start climbing. Maria moves to stand beside the door, gun in hand now, finger resting along the side like she's done this before. Emily wants to scream, wants to run, but there's nowhere to go. The window is shuttered. The only way out is through that door. and someone is coming for it. The steps reach the top of the stairs. Pause. Then move down the hall. Slow, methodical, checking doors. Emily's chest burns from holding her breath. Maria's eyes never leave the doorknob. The footsteps stop right outside. A shadow flickers under the crack of the door. The handle jiggles once, locked. Then a voice, muffled but clear. "I know you're in there, Maria. Open up. We just want to talk." It's not the voice from the porch. This one is younger, smoother, almost friendly. Maria doesn't answer. Her jaw sets like stone. The voice tries again. "Come on. You really think Adrian's going to protect you when it matters? He couldn't protect his father. He won't protect you either." Emily sees Maria flinch, just a fraction, and suddenly understands that this isn't just about tonight. This is old. This is blood on snow and broken glass. Here are the remaining chapters to complete your story, and promises that didn't hold. The doorknob rattles harder. Once, twice, then a sharp kick. The frame shudders but holds. Another kick. Wood splinters near the lock. Maria raises the gun, both hands steady, aimed at chest height. "Emily," she says quietly, "get behind the desk. Now." Emily scrambles, knees hitting the floor, curling tight behind the heavy oak. Her heart slams so hard she thinks it might crack her ribs. One more kick. The lock gives. The door swings open. If you were hiding in that room, knowing everything you'd learned about Adrian's past, would you trust Maria to protect you? Or would you already be planning your own escape? The man in the doorway is younger than Emily expected. Mid-30s maybe. Sharp cheekbones, designer jacket soaked through with snow. His eyes sweep the room, landing on Maria first, then flicking to the desk where Emily crouches, visible despite her best efforts. "There she is," he says, almost cheerful. "The airport girl. Adrian sure knows how to pick them." Maria doesn't lower the gun. "Turn around, Marcus. This doesn't end the way you think it does." Marcus. Emily's brain scrambles through everything Maria told her, every folder, every name, but nothing clicks. He takes one step into the room, hands raised like he's harmless, like this is all a big misunderstanding. "I'm not here to hurt anyone," he says. "Just need to deliver a message." "Messages come by phone," Maria snaps. "Not by breaking into people's homes. Phones can be ignored," Marcus replies. He glances toward the window, then back. Storm's getting worse. Roads'll be impassable soon. Adrian's running out of time to make the right choice. "What choice?" Emily hears herself ask, voice shaking. Both of them look at her. Maria's expression tightens like she wishes Emily had stayed quiet. Marcus smiles, thin and cold. "The choice between his nephew's surgery and his pride," he says. "See, there's a doctor at Street Vincent's who's very good, best in the state, but he's expensive. And he has other commitments. Adrian refused to pay what was asked. So now the doctor's unavailable. Funny how that works." Emily's stomach turns. "You're holding a child's surgery hostage?" "I'm delivering a business proposal," Marcus corrects. "Adrian pays what's owed. The doctor becomes available again. Everyone wins. Especially little Caleb." Maria's hand trembles, just slightly. Emily sees it, the crack in her armor. "Adrian doesn't negotiate with trash," Maria says. "He will when his sister's calling him in tears," Marcus replies. He pulls out his phone, glances at the screen. "Surgery's supposed to start in 6 hours. Clock's ticking. All he has to do is make one transfer. Then we leave. The doctor shows up, and everyone goes home happy. Except you'll be back," Maria says. "Next month. Next year. You people always come back." Marcus shrugs. "That's business." Downstairs, a door slams. Footsteps pound up the stairs, fast and heavy. Marcus's expression shifts, losing the fake friendliness. Owen appears in the doorway, gun drawn, face flushed. "Back away from them," Owen orders. Marcus raises his hands higher, taking one step back. "Easy, hero. I'm just talking." "Talking's over," Owen says. He jerks his chin toward the stairs. "Out. Now." Marcus looks past him, down the hallway. "Where's Adrian? Hiding?" "That's not like him. Last chance," Owen says, voice dropping into something dangerous. For a second, Marcus looks like he's going to push it. Then he smiles again, sharp and knowing. "Fine. I'll go. But tell Adrian the clock's ticking. 6 hours. Then it's out of my hands." He walks past Owen slowly, deliberately, like he's in no hurry at all. Owen follows him out, gun never wavering. Emily hears them descend the stairs, Marcus's voice carrying back up. You should check your side door, by the way. Might want to board that up before someone else comes through. The front door opens and slams. Silence rushes back in, thick and suffocating. Emily realizes she's still crouched behind the desk, muscles locked, breathing shallow. Maria finally lowers the gun, leaning against the wall like all her strength just left. Is he gone? Emily whispers. For now, Maria answers. She slides the gun back into her waistband, hands shaking now that the moment's passed. Come on. We need to get downstairs. Emily stands on legs that barely hold her weight, follows Maria back into the hallway. The door Marcus kicked hangs crooked on its hinges, splintered wood scattered across the floor. Downstairs, Adrian stands in the entryway, phone pressed to his ear, voice clipped and furious. I don't care what it takes, he's saying. Get another surgeon. Fly someone in from Boston if you have to. I'm not paying terrorists. He listens for a moment, jaw working. Then we wait until the storm clears and move him to a different hospital. No, absolutely not. He ends the call, tosses the phone onto the side table so hard it skids across the wood. Then he sees Emily and Maria on the stairs. His expression shifts, some of the fury draining into exhaustion. You okay? He asks. Emily nods, not trusting her voice. Maria crosses her arms. Marcus delivered his message, she says. 6 hours or they pull the surgeon. Let them, Adrian says flatly. I've got 3 other hospitals on standby. Caleb will be fine. And if he's not? Maria challenges. If something goes wrong because you waited? Because you were too stubborn to give them exactly what they want? Adrian cuts in. To prove that all they have to do is threaten my family and I'll roll over? He shakes his head. No, not this time. Not ever again. Emily descends the rest of the stairs slowly. The side window Marcus mentioned is shattered, snow blowing in through the jagged opening. Owen's already boarding it up with plywood from somewhere, hammer striking nails in steady, angry rhythm. What did they want? Emily asks quietly. What are you refusing to pay? Adrian looks at her for a long moment, weighing something. Then he moves to the fireplace, staring into the dying embers. My father made deals, he says, with people who live in shadows. When he died, they expected me to honor those deals. I refused. They've been testing me ever since. Testing you with what? Emily presses. Money, access, silence. He turns to face her. They want me to use my companies to move things that shouldn't be moved, to hide things that shouldn't be hidden. And when I say no, they find pressure points. My sister, my nephew, anyone I care about. Emily's throat tightens. And me? You walked in at the worst possible time, Adrian admits. Storm. Surgery. Marcus and his crew already planning their move. Now they know you're here. They'll use that if they can. Emily feels the weight of that settle over her. She thinks about Lily, about her mom, about the ordinary life she was supposed to be living right now. So what do we do? She asks. Adrian's eyes meet hers, and for the first time since she met him, she sees something like doubt flicker there. We survive the next 6 hours, he says. We keep them out. And we pray that my sister forgives me if this goes wrong. Owen finishes boarding the window, tests it with one hand. We're secure for now, he reports. But if they come back with more people, or if they get creative, we might not hold. They won't come back tonight, Maria says from the stairs. Marcus isn't the muscle, he's the messenger. Real trouble comes later, if Adrian doesn't pay. Then we have until morning, Adrian says. He looks at Emily again. You should try to sleep. Upstairs, different room, somewhere they haven't breached. I'm not going to sleep, Emily says flatly. Not after that. Not while you're all down here waiting for round 2. You need rest, Adrian insists. I need answers, Emily shoots back. I need to understand why I'm trapped in a house with men kicking down doors because you won't pay for a surgery. It's not about the surgery, Adrian says, voice rising. It's about control. It's about making sure they know I can't be bought. If I pay tonight, they own me. And if they own me, they own everyone I'm supposed to protect. Including Caleb? Emily asks. The question lands like a slap. Adrian's face goes still. Especially Caleb, he says quietly. That's why I can't give in. Because the next time, the price will be higher, and the time after that, there won't be a way out. Emily stares at him, at this man who pulled her out of an airport and into a nightmare, and realizes he's been living in this nightmare for years, long before she showed up, long before tonight. So we wait, she says finally. We wait, Adrian confirms. Outside, the storm howls harder, wind shrieking against the boarded window. The clock on the wall ticks steadily toward dawn. 6 hours until Caleb's surgery. 6 hours to decide if pride is worth more than a child's life. If you were the one who had to make that call, pay the blackmail and save a life, or refuse and risk everything, which would you choose? And could you live with the consequences? 4 hours until surgery. Emily sits on the couch, coffee mug cold in her hands, watching the clock like it's a countdown to something worse than a storm. Adrian paces near the window, phone to his ear again, voice low and urgent. Owen stands guard by the front door, eyes scanning the dark through the small window that isn't boarded. Maria moves through the space like a ghost, checking locks, making sure the makeshift barricades hold. The house feels smaller now, walls pressing in, every creak of the old beams a potential threat. Adrian ends another call, tension written across his shoulders. They moved Caleb to a different wing, he says. Better security. My sister's with him. And the surgeon? Maria asks. Still unavailable, Adrian says flatly. But I've got a cardiac specialist flying in from Philadelphia. If the weather breaks, he'll be here in time. If, Owen mutters. It'll break, Adrian says. Like he can will it into being true. Emily sets down her mug, stands, crosses to where Adrian's standing. What if it doesn't? She asks quietly. What if the storm doesn't stop and your specialist can't land and Marcus's doctor is the only option? Adrian doesn't answer right away. His jaw works, eyes fixed somewhere beyond the boarded window. Then my sister makes the call, he says finally. Not me. I won't be the one who breaks, but she'll be the one who suffers, Emily says, and the truth of it sits heavy between them. He turns to look at her. Really look at her. And she sees the war happening behind his eyes. Principle versus love. Pride versus pragmatism. The man who won't bow versus the uncle who would do anything to protect a child. You think I'm wrong, he says. It's not a question. I think you're human, Emily replies. And humans make impossible choices every day. I had to choose between staying home with my daughter and taking a job 3 states away so I could afford her medical bills last year. There was no right answer, just the one I could live with. Adrian's expression softens, just slightly. What did you choose? The job, Emily says. I left her with my mom for 6 months, cried myself to sleep every night, and sent every paycheck home. When I came back, she barely recognized me. Her voice cracks, but her bills got paid. She's healthy now, and I have to believe that was worth it. Was it? Adrian asks. Emily swallows hard. Ask me when she's older, she says. Maybe she'll forgive me, maybe she won't, but I made the choice I could live with, and that's all any of us can do. Adrian's phone buzzes. He glances at it, face going pale. My sister, he says, and answers immediately. Kate, what's wrong? Emily can't hear the other side, but she can see Adrian's whole body go rigid. When? He asks. Pause. How bad? Another pause. I'm coming. I don't care about the roads. He stops, listens. His hand tightens around the phone so hard his knuckles go white. Kate, don't do this. Don't give them what they want. I can fix this. Just give me. He pulls the phone away from his ear, stares at the screen. Call ended. He stands frozen for a moment, then slams his fist into the wall so hard the picture frames rattle. What happened? Owen demands. Adrian doesn't turn around. Caleb's crashing, he says, voice hollow. Heart rate dropped. They need to operate now. Not in 4 hours. Now. The room goes silent, except for the storm and the ticking clock. And the surgeon? Maria asks, already knowing. Still the only one in range, Adrian says. Kate's calling Marcus, making the deal. Emily's chest tightens. She's paying them? She's saving her son, Adrian corrects, and the bitterness in his voice cuts like glass. Because I wasn't willing to. He turns, and Emily sees something break in his face. Not defeat exactly. Something worse. The realization that his principles just cost his sister everything, and his nephew might pay the price. Call her back, Emily says. Tell her you'll handle it. You'll make the payment. Too late, Adrian says. She won't take my call now. She's done listening to me. Owen crosses the room. Boss, we can still what? Adrian snaps. Storm's worse. Roads are closed. Even if I drove right now, I wouldn't get there in time to stop her. She's already making the transfer. Already giving Marcus exactly what he wanted. Maria sinks into a chair. Then it's over. No, Emily says, sudden and sharp. Everyone looks at her. She steps closer to Adrian, heart pounding. It's not over. Your sister just bought her son a surgery. That's not defeat. That's love. And maybe it's not the choice you would have made. But it's the one she could live with. Adrian stares at her. You don't understand what this means. They'll come back. Again and again. They'll bleed her dry. Then you protect her, Emily says. You use all that money and power and ruthless reputation everyone talks about, and you make sure they can't touch her again. But right now, in this moment, a kid gets to live. That's not nothing. Adrian's phone buzzes again. He looks at it like it might bite him, then answers. Kate. His voice is softer now, broken. He listens. I'm sorry, he says. I'm so sorry. I thought. He stops. Listens more. He's stable, a long breath. Okay. I'm coming as soon as the road's clear. I don't care if I have to walk. Pause. I love you too. He ends the call, lowers the phone slowly. Surgery's starting, he says. Caleb's stable enough. The doctor's there. He looks at Emily, and his eyes are wet. She hates me right now, but he's going to be okay. Emily reaches out, puts her hand on his arm. Then that's what matters. For a moment, he just stands there, letting the weight of it all crash over him. Then he nods once, sharp, like he's making a decision. Owen, he says. I want every detail on Marcus and his crew, who they work for, where they operate, how they move money. I want it all by the time the sun comes up. Owen nods. Already on it. Adrian looks at Maria. When this storm clears, I want you and Kate and Caleb moved somewhere they can't find you, somewhere off the grid. I'll handle the rest. What rest? Maria asks. Adrian's expression hardens, the grief replaced by something cold and calculating. Marcus thinks he won tonight, he says. He's wrong. He just bought himself a war. Emily's pulse kicks up. What are you going to do? Adrian meets her gaze, and for a second she sees the man the magazines write about. The one who built an empire and crushed everyone in his way. I'm going to make sure they never threaten my family again, he says simply. How? Emily presses. However it takes, Adrian replies. The clock ticks closer to dawn. The storm begins to ease, just slightly, the howling wind dropping to a dull roar. Outside, the first faint hint of gray light touches the horizon. Emily knows she should be relieved. Surgery happening. Caleb safe. Storm passing. But she can't shake the feeling that the real storm is just beginning. If you'd just watched someone you trusted choose revenge over relief, would you stay and see what kind of man he really is, or would you take the first chance to walk away before the violence starts? The road's clear by mid-morning, plows carving narrow paths through snow that still falls but no longer buries. Adrian hasn't slept. Neither has Emily. They sit across from each other at the kitchen table, two untouched plates of food between them, the weight of the last 12 hours pressing down like a physical thing. Owen walks in, phone in hand. Caleb's out of surgery, he reports. Stable. Doctor says it went perfectly. Adrian closes his eyes. Exhales slowly. Thank God. He breathes. Your sister wants to talk to you, Owen adds, holding out the phone. Adrian takes it, steps into the other room. Emily hears his voice, low and careful. Words she can't make out, but tone she recognizes. Apology. Gratitude. A bridge trying to rebuild itself one sentence at a time. Maria sits down across from Emily, sliding a fresh cup of coffee toward her. You should eat something, she says. Emily shakes her head. Can't. Stomach's still in knots. Mine too, Maria admits. She wraps her hands around her own mug. You did good last night. Kept your head when it mattered. I hid behind a desk while you held a gun, Emily says. That's not exactly heroic. Heroic is staying when you could have run, Maria counters. Most people would have bolted the second that door broke. You stayed. Emily looks down at her hands. I stayed because there was nowhere to go. Storm. Middle of nowhere. No phone. Not exactly a choice. There's always a choice, Maria says quietly. You chose to stay with us, instead of locking yourself in a room and pretending you didn't hear the rest. Adrian returns, handing the phone back to Owen. His face looks lighter, some of the tension gone. She's okay, he says. We're okay. Caleb's asking for pancakes, so that's a good sign. Emily manages a small smile. Kids bounce back fast. They do. Adrian agrees. He sits down beside her, close enough that their arms almost touch. I need to get to the hospital, he says. Roads are still rough, but Owen can make it. I'll be gone most of the day. What about Marcus? Emily asks. What about the people who broke in here? Adrian's expression hardens again, just slightly. Owen's handling that, he says. By the time I get back, we'll have everything we need to make sure they don't try this again. Emily studies his face, the set of his jaw, the cold calculation back in his eyes. You're going after them, she says. Not a question. I'm protecting my family, Adrian corrects. There's a difference. Is there? Emily challenges. He meets her gaze, unflinching. Yes, he says, because I'm not the one who started this, but I'm going to be the one who ends it. Owen clears his throat. Car's ready when you are, boss. Adrian stands, then pauses, looking down at Emily. I know this isn't what you signed up for, he says. Airport, storm, warm bed. That was supposed to be it. I'm sorry it turned into this. It's not your fault, Emily says, even though part of her isn't sure that's entirely true. Still, Adrian says, once the roads are fully clear, Owen will drive you wherever you need to go. Airport, bus station, straight home if you want. No questions asked. Emily's heart does something complicated in her chest. Home, back to her mom's couch, and Lily's tight hugs, and a life that makes sense. Away from men with guns and moral compromises, and billionaires who fight wars in the shadows. Okay, she says quietly. Adrian nods once, then heads for the door. Owen follows. The house feels bigger once they're gone. Emptier, like all the intensity walked out with them. Maria stands, starts clearing plates. You should get some rest, she says. Real rest. In a bed that doesn't have a broken door. Emily doesn't argue. She climbs the stairs, finds the guest room Maria prepared for her yesterday before everything went sideways. The bed is soft, the blankets thick. She lies down fully clothed, boots still on, and stares at the ceiling. Her phone, finally charged, sits on the nightstand. 17 missed messages from her mom. 3 voicemails. She picks it up, types out a message. Storm's clearing. I'll call soon. I'm safe. I promise. She almost adds more. Almost tries to explain. But how do you explain the last 24 hours to someone who lives in a world where the worst danger is a late bus? She sets the phone back down, closes her eyes. Sleep doesn't come. Instead, she replays everything. The airport, the lodge, the knock on the door, Marcus's cold smile, Adrian's choice, his sister's desperation, the surgery that saved a life and cost a fortune in more ways than money. When she opens her eyes again, hours have passed. The room is darker, afternoon sliding into evening. She hears voices downstairs, low and urgent. She gets up, moves to the door, listens. Secured the files, Owen's saying. Marcus and his crew work out of a warehouse downtown. I've got addresses, names, financial trails, everything you need. Good, Adrian replies. Tomorrow, we move. Move how? Maria asks, and Emily hears the worry in her voice. Legally first, Adrian says. Freeze their accounts, report them to every agency with jurisdiction. Make their lives impossible to operate. And if that's not enough? Maria presses. Silence. Then Adrian, quieter. Then we make sure they understand that my family is off limits, permanently. Emily's pulse kicks up. She grips the doorframe, torn between walking down there and demanding answers, and staying hidden, pretending she didn't hear. Before she can decide, her phone buzzes. A text from her mom. New picture attached. Lily at the Christmas tree, face lit up with joy, holding a present wrapped in shiny paper. The message reads, She's been so patient. Can't wait for you to get home. Emily's chest tightens. Home, where people don't break into houses or hold surgeries hostage, where the biggest danger is a slippery sidewalk or a bill that comes in too high. She looks at Lily's face on the screen, then down at the stairs where three people are planning something that might cross lines she's not ready to understand. And she realizes she's standing at a crossroads. One path leads back to the airport. Back to normal. Back to a life where tonight becomes a wild story she tells at parties years from now. The other path leads downstairs, into whatever Adrian's planning, into a world where she might have to accept things she spent her whole life avoiding. The choice should be easy. It should be obvious. But as she stares at her daughter's face and listens to the voices planning war in the room below, Emily knows that easy and obvious left the building the moment she said yes in that airport terminal. The only question now is whether she walks away before she's in too deep, or if she's already too deep to walk away at all. Would you go home to the life you know, even if it means never understanding what happens next, or would you go downstairs and demand to be part of the answer? Emily walks down the stairs slowly, each step deliberate. The voices stop when she appears in the doorway. Adrian, Owen, and Maria all turn to look at her, surprise flickering across their faces. "I thought you were sleeping," Adrian says. "I was thinking," Emily replies. She steps into the room, arms crossed, heart pounding but voice steady. "About what you're planning. About what happens next." Adrian's expression shifts, guarded. "Emily, I want to help." She cuts in. The words are out before she can second-guess them. Owen's eyebrows shoot up. Maria's mouth opens, then closes. Adrian just stares at her like she's speaking a language he doesn't understand. "Help how?" he finally asks. "I don't know yet," Emily admits. "But I know I can't just walk away and pretend this didn't happen. A little boy almost died because people like Marcus think they can control everything with threats. That's not okay. And if you're going to do something about it, I want to be part of making sure it's done right." Adrian shakes his head. "This isn't your fight." "Maybe not," Emily says. "But it became my fight the moment I walked through that door. The moment they saw my face and decided I could be leverage. You said it yourself, they'll use anyone you care about." She pauses, lets that land. "I don't want to be the person you have to protect from the next Marcus. I want to be the person who helps make sure there isn't a next Marcus." Maria stands, crossing to Emily. "Girl, you have a daughter waiting for you at home. You have a whole life that doesn't involve broken windows and guns in the dark. Why would you risk that?" Emily meets her gaze. "Because I want Lily to grow up in a world where people like us don't have to be afraid of people like them. And maybe that's naive. Maybe I'm in over my head. But I've spent my whole life being careful, playing it safe, taking the easy path. And you know where it got me? Broke, exhausted, and terrified that one bad break would destroy everything." She looks at Adrian. "You gave me shelter when I had none. You treated me like I mattered when I was just another stranded stranger. I'm not walking away from that." Adrian stares at her for a long moment, something shifting behind his eyes. "You have no idea what you're asking for," he says quietly. "Then tell me," Emily challenges. "Explain it. Show me. Let me decide if I can handle it, instead of deciding for me." Owen clears his throat. "Boss, she's got a point. We could use someone on the inside who doesn't have a file with Marcus's crew, someone they won't see coming." "Absolutely not," Adrian says sharply. "I'm not putting her in danger." "I'm already in danger," Emily counters. "They know I was here. They know I saw Marcus. If they decide I'm a problem later, what's stopping them from coming after me at home? At least here, with you, I have protection. I have a chance to actually do something, instead of just waiting to be a victim." The room falls silent. Maria sinks back into her chair, shaking her head but not arguing. Owen watches Adrian, waiting. Adrian runs a hand through his hair, conflict written across every line of his face. "If you do this," he says slowly, "there's no going back. You'll be part of this. Part of my world. And my world is complicated and dangerous and full of choices that don't have easy answers." "I know," Emily says. "Do you?" Adrian steps closer, voice dropping. "Because once you cross this line, people like Marcus will always see you as connected to me. Your daughter, your mother, everyone you love becomes part of the equation. Are you ready for that?" Emily thinks of Lily's face on her phone screen, thinks of her mom's worried texts, thinks of the quiet, ordinary life she's built with duct tape and prayer. Then she thinks of the last 24 hours. of feeling powerless and terrified and utterly at the mercy of forces she couldn't control. She thinks of Adrian's sister making an impossible choice in a hospital room. She thinks of Caleb, 5 years old like Lily, fighting for his life because adults played games with his safety. Yes, she says. I'm ready. Adrian searches her face, looking for doubt, for hesitation. He doesn't find it. Finally, he nods once, sharp. Okay, he says. Then we do this together. But we do it smart. We do it legal as long as we can. And if things get dark, you tell me, and you walk away. Deal? Emily extends her hand. Deal. He takes it, his grip firm and warm. For a second they just stand there, hands clasped, a silent agreement passing between them that feels bigger than words. Owen clears his throat again. So, what's the play? Adrian releases Emily's hand, turns to the table where papers are spread out. We start by cutting off their money, he says. Marcus's crew operates through shell companies. We expose those, freeze the accounts, report them to the feds. Make it impossible for them to operate. And if they come at us before that's done? Maria asks. Then we're ready, Adrian says. He looks at Owen. Increase security at the hospital. At Emily's mom's house. Anywhere they might look for leverage. Emily's heart skips. My mom? Already handled, Owen says. I've got a team watching the house. She won't even know they're there. Relief and fear twist together in Emily's chest. This is real. This is happening. There's no backing out now. Adrian's phone rings. He glances at it, then answers. Kate. His expression softens immediately. How is he? Pause. That's great. That's really great. He listens, eyes flicking to Emily. Actually, I have someone I want you to meet. Someone who helped me get through last night. Another pause. Yeah, I'll bring her by tomorrow. She's important. He ends the call, pockets the phone. Caleb's awake, he says. Asking for me. Asking about the storm. A small smile tugs at his mouth. Kid's going to be fine. That's all that matters, Maria says, standing. Now everyone eat something before you pass out. You can't save the world on an empty stomach. As Maria moves to the kitchen, Emily catches Adrian's arm. Thank you, she says quietly, for letting me stay, for trusting me. Thank you for not running, Adrian replies. He looks at her, really looks at her, and Emily feels the shift between them. Not just gratitude anymore. Something deeper. Something that started in an airport terminal and solidified in the middle of a storm. I should call my mom, Emily says. Tell her I'll be home soon. That everything's okay. Is everything okay? Adrian asks. Emily considers that. Her life just turned sideways. She's standing in a lodge with a man who's planning to take down criminals, agreeing to help, putting herself and her family on a very dangerous board. But Caleb's alive. The storm's over. And for the first time in years, Emily feels like she's not just surviving, she's actually fighting back. Yeah, she says. I think it is. Outside, the snow has stopped. The sky clears slowly, stars beginning to poke through the clouds. The worst of the storm is over. But Emily knows, standing in that warm room with people who became something like family in a single night, that the real journey is just beginning. She pulls out her phone, dials her mom. Hey, she says when her mom answers, voice thick with relief. I'm okay. I'm safe. And I have so much to tell you. On the other side of the line, her mom's voice cracks with emotion. Thank God. Lily's been asking for you nonstop. Tell her I'll be home soon, Emily says, glancing at Adrian. And that mommy met someone who reminded her what it means to stand up when things get hard. What does that mean? Her mom asks. Emily smiles. It means everything's gonna change, Mom. But in a good way. I promise. She ends the call, looks around the room at Maria, preparing food, Owen reviewing files, Adrian watching her with something warm and unreadable in his eyes. This wasn't the Christmas she planned. It wasn't the story she thought she'd be living. But standing here, no longer stranded, no longer powerless, Emily realizes that sometimes the best gifts come wrapped in storms. And sometimes the person you meet in the chaos becomes the one who helps you find your way home, not to a place, but to the person you were always meant to be. Adrian crosses to her, stands close enough that she can feel the warmth radiating from him. Ready for whatever comes next? He asks. Emily looks up at him, at this man who started as a stranger and became something she can't quite name yet. Yeah, she says, I'm ready. And as the stars break through the clouds outside and the fireplace crackles back to life, Emily knows that this is just the beginning of something complicated, something dangerous, something real. But for the first time in a long time, she's not afraid. She's ready. Thank you so much for joining us on Emily and Adrian's journey through the storm. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you think about the choices we make when everything's on the line, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another story that matters. Drop a comment below, telling us what you would have done in Emily's shoes. Would you have stayed or walked away? Your thoughts inspire us and help others find courage in their own storms. Share this with someone who needs to hear that sometimes the hardest nights lead to the brightest mornings.